Hi, this is JC Navarro, and welcome to the Pro Talk podcast brought to you by Housecall Pro, the app that tens of thousands of home service professionals use all across the country. In this episode, you're going to meet John Monson, the co-owner of Dirty2Dreamy Detail Services out of Lake Tapps, Washington. He's going to share with you the story of how he started his business, as well as give you some inspirational pieces on how to face the challenges that we are facing as a country amidst this COVID-19 crisis. We hope that this episode provides you hope and also strategies for how you can grow your business. All right, folks, we are here with our good friend Jonathan Monson out of Lake Tapps, Washington. He is the co-owner of Dirty2Dreamy Detailing Services, and we are so excited to have him on here to share some of his wisdom, his experiences, his life story, things that I'm sure you will be inspired by as you hear more of it. And we're even going to touch on the marketing aspects because he's great at marketing. And I know that you pros are probably trying to figure out how do we market ourselves in this very interesting time of a crisis that we are facing as a country. And so just want to welcome you, Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. Let's just jump in and tell us about how you got started with your business and go from there.
I actually got fired. That's how the business started. I've run other people's businesses I ran other people's businesses for 13 years. And I was always really good at what I did. And I opened a chain of Best Tire Centers, what it was called. I opened a chain of stores for them, and I ended up getting terminated from them. And it's not even worth going over the reasons as to why, but it wasn't my fault. We will say that. But we didn't meet eye to eye on some things. So I said, you know what? Let's just start our own business. I don't want to run somebody else's business anymore. And we did. And here we are 4 years later, and we're doing phenomenal. Like I look back now and I'm like, how did you do this? What did you do?
Yeah, pros, it's kind of funny that you say it that way. I don't think I've ever met a pro that said, I started my business because I got fired from a job.
Yeah.
But push come to shove, something happened. And rather than just being down and out and rolling right over, you said, no way, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to go do something with my current situation.
Yeah. Well, and it was the first time I'd ever been fired in my life. And I couldn't believe it. I was the top performer in the company. I always have been the top performer. And, you know, everybody has those sob stories where like I was top performer and nobody appreciated what I did. And that's why I started my business. And yeah, that's what drove me. I think that's what drives a lot of us to start our own businesses is not getting the accolades that we feel like we should.
Right. And what made you go into the specific industry that you're in? I mean, obviously you're dealing with tires, right? You're doing tires and auto, type stuff, but why lean into car detailing, auto detailing?
I love cars, but with running shops for 13 years, I was tired of it. I was tired of dealing with parts. You know, the newer cars are coming out with so many different parts. Like for instance, a Subaru alone, like a 2019 Subaru has 7 different types of brakes you can put on it based off of the submodel, subclass, and VIN number allocation of where it was made, whether it was Korea or United States. So it was just a pain in the butt doing car repair, but I still love cars. So I was like, let's do the easy side. Let's clean them instead. And I've been doing that for a while on the side just to make a couple bucks here and there. And I said, screw it. Let's just do this full time. And that's what we did. And that was why it's just a simpler version of what I already did. So I already really had the business model. I had the business plan. I knew how I was going to attack it. I knew, how we were going to push marketing, et cetera, because you're pretty much marketing to the same folks. I just eliminated the hard part, which is repairing the cars.
That's so true. Now, was it a rough start, or where'd you get your clients, your products? Like, where'd you get the capital to start it? I mean, was it a difficult transition?
We had no capital. I had my last paycheck, and I'm like a lot of Americans. I was living paycheck to paycheck. Had some savings, but not anything worth telling anybody about. Under $1,000 worth of savings. And I've always been obsessed with cleaning carpets. So I had a Bissell Green machine, which is a $550 cleaner, right? So we just went to our first couple details and we just did as best as we could and grew it that way. And we actually stumbled on a customer in Federal Way. And it was one of our first customers. And we got there, we did one car, and they were so impressed with our attention to detail, they had us do 7 more. So we had a record day with our first week. We did over $1,100 on one day. And I was like, wow, okay, so this could be a business model. Like this could be a thing. And I thought it's fun. I laugh at it now because I thought I was like the first person that thought of mobile detailing. I was like, I must be the first person because this was too easy. And
I'm a genius.
right, right. And then I start joining all the groups on Facebook and realizing it's a bigger deal than people say it is. And I started doing a lot of research, and we did it the old fashioned way. We just get to know who people are. Our motto is to touch lives through details. So we got to know your name, your family. Why did you call us? How did you find us? We ask all those awkward questions, and we have those fun conversations about, what do you do for a living? Yeah, I know I'm here to clean your car, but what do you do for a living? Let's chat, let's get to know each other. And because of that, people did shout outs on Facebook a lot. And that's when I realized how powerful shoutouts were. One person would comment on one Facebook post, and I'd get 5 or 6 jobs and $1,500 out of that. And that's how we began to develop the marketing. So
it's interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
No, I was just thinking, when considering your situation, and for those of us who have lost jobs in the past, when you're thinking about building a business and you think about building a motto, I find it fascinating that you built this motto from the beginning. And the reason I say that is because if it were me, I'm like, I don't have time for a motto. I need to make money. Like, I need to make money. I need to find clients. I need to market myself. I need to clean cars. I need to get this business up and running because I need the cash and I need this to thrive. But you took the time to create a motto. And can you repeat that motto for us? And why was that so important to you at the start of your business?
To give you a little bit of background on myself, I feel a lot of people struggle in business because of the want or the need for money. Kerwin Ray has been quoted as saying, whatever you want or need controls you. So if you want or need money, like as you stated, I need to get that cash in, I need to get that money, that monetary value because I just got fired from my job, and you allow that to control your mindset, it dictates your forward movement. And unfortunately, it ends up chaos. Whereas if you don't want or need money, which I've been homeless, so to me, that's an advantage. A lot of people would see that as a disadvantage, but I've lived with nothing. So it wasn't like, oh my goodness, I need money. It was like, I need a job. I need to function in society. Eventually, I'm going to need money to come in, but it wasn't top priority at all. So I was really able to focus on the structure of the business because it was more of a long-term goal to stop me from becoming homeless again, but not an immediate need for cash flow because I don't think of the world as something I just need money from. And the motto was basically, a lot of it has to do with how I felt about every shop I ever ran. I ran over 20 locations in 13 years. And a very scary statistic is the first thing that I fixed in every shop that I ran was integrity and honesty. Every shop I ran had problems with lying and cheating the customers. And I say that as kindly as I can without destroying the automotive industry because it's in enough turmoil as it is. But that's the truth. The truth is that they're pushed to meet numbers just like any other business, and they do things that are wrong. And they need somebody that, that's what I was for. I came in and said, hey, whoa, I realize you feel like you're just stretching the truth, but this is what we need to do. And that's what it was about. It was about truly getting to know my customers so that I can do what they want and need, not what I want and need to make a dollar or to make a number or to beat the next goal or to go the next level in my business.
Okay. So thank you for sharing that. And then there's this one word that just stuck out the entire time that I'm sure our listeners and our viewers are wondering, what? It was like they're homeless. Can you go back and tell us how did that happen, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was working at Jiffy Lube as a store manager, and I started my own side business buying and selling cars, and it started doing well. So I left Jiffy Lube and continued to do that on my own. Didn't have any health insurance or anything like that. And where I was living, they decided to basically renovate the place next to me. The woman had 4 dogs that had peed all over the carpets, caused all sorts of mold issues. And unfortunately, they didn't do it properly. And a lot of the chemicals and fumes came from underneath my sink into my apartment and made me pretty sick. I went to the hospital several times, tried to figure out what was going on. Nobody really could figure it out. They treated me for strep throat. They thought it was the flu. then finally we pinpointed it, and that's what it was. It was my living situation. So I had to move. I had no choice. They wouldn't let me out of my lease. I had nothing. I spent everything, every dime I had on trying to get my health fixed because I was sick. And I was buying and selling cars. So I had 3 cars sitting around that I needed to get rid of, and basically got evicted without lengthening the story. Basically got evicted because money ran out, and I moved out. And on my way to stay at my friend's house, the car that I had broke down.
Yeah.
So I went and stayed at my friend's house for a little while. The car, it was sitting on the side of the road for 45 minutes. It got impounded. It went to the impound lot, and whoever, I'm not blaming the impound lot, but somebody got in the car and stole everything that I owned. So quite literally, I had the backpack on my back and the clothes on my body, and that's it. I started from absolutely nothing. I ended up getting the car at an impound, got it fixed, and things didn't work well where I was staying. There was, I try to say things as kind as I can, but there was some drug issues with the husband, and the husband, while I was there, sold like everything out from underneath the wife, and it just turned into this mess that I could have continued staying there, but I was like, I don't need I'm homeless. Like, enough is enough. And I moved out, and I ended up staying in my 79 RX-7, which it didn't run. I parked it in a parking lot, and I showered at a 24-hour fitness and worked at a AutoZone. Couldn't get approved for any type of financial anything because I always had a job. I've always had a job. I've always pushed myself to always keep going no matter what. But yeah, no, I lived in the car and walked to work. They didn't even know I lived in the car for the first 3 months when I was working at AutoZone. I was out in the parking lot. It was funny. And I had my dog and everything in the car. I had one dog at the time. She's actually behind me. She's my anxiety pup. She does all my videos and stuff with me and keeps me company. But yeah, if it weren't for that, for her and for the things that I went through, I don't know that I would have gotten through it, to be honest.
Gosh, thanks so much for sharing that and being as transparent as you are. Thank you. When you think about that motto of caring so much about your customers and the people that you're serving, where also does that come from?
It comes from a lot of stuff, to be honest. It's, I'm 36 years old now. I've had a tumultuous life. I've seen some stuff. I've watched people die in front of me. I've been through my own series of accidents and issues. And I want to share one story with you. And this kind of embodies what pushed me to be who I am in life. I was at Firestone, and I believe the guy's name was Thomas. I don't recall exactly his name, but he came in every year. It was 3 years straight for the same problem on his car. And he's an older guy. He's probably about 80 years old. He was very well-to-do in the local area in Seattle. He had a company where he had 1,000 employees, a big janitor company. And it since closed, and it was just him and his wife, and they had a couple employees that they kind of kept things going. He came in, and every year it was about a month after his warranty would expire for the repair. And he would come in and he would say, the car's not starting again. I don't know what's going on. And every year I offered to diagnose it for free because it was only a month out of warranty. If it was the same issue, we're going to replace it anyway. So we might as well figure out what it is. Well, we always took care of it, and it was always something different. It was never the same problem. So he comes in on the 4th year, same problem. It's a month out of warranty. I had a new manager. At this point, it was the 7th manager we had at this Firestone. Firestone had gone through a lot of turnover, and it wasn't doing well. And I was the only person left from the crew previous. And he came in, and the manager basically, it was her first week, and she wanted to put her foot down and let it be known that she was in charge. And she said, I'm sorry, I have to charge you for this. And he lost it. And it wasn't like him to do that. It wasn't like him to lose his temper. It wasn't like him to get upset. And I basically stepped in and I said, let me handle this. And she said, no, I got this. He needs to pay or he can go. And he decided he was going to leave. He walked out in the parking lot with skis. He's like, I'm never coming back again. I can't believe this. After years of patronizing your business. And I ran out and I was like, Charlie, hang on a minute. Let's talk. What's going on? And I told him, I said, if it has to be paid for, I'll pay for it. But I need your keys. I'm going to take care of you, whether she likes it or not. And I took his car in and she didn't like it. And I said, well, that's okay. You want your profit. You're going to get your profit, but you're going to get it out of me, not him. He's been a valued customer for a long time, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to take him home real quick because this is the only ride he has. This is what we've always done. We give him a ride home. I come back with the car and we figure it out. So on the ride home, he was driving and I honestly felt like I was going to be murdered.
Hmm.
He kept saying over and over again, it's not the same. It's just not the same anymore. It's just not the same. And this went on for like 10, 15 minutes. And I mean, you know a little bit about my background, so I get a little anxious in situations like this. So I'm just, rocking back and forth in my seat, just okay. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. And then finally, something spoke to me. Call it the Spirit of God, call it the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. I said, I need to ask this guy what's going on. So he said, Charlie, what's up? What's not the same anymore? And he said, I woke up this morning, or no, he said, I woke up 2 weeks ago and she was gone. 50 years. 50 years I had been with her and she was healthy as healthy can be and she's just gone.
He's talking about his wife.
Correct. And I said, Charlie, are we talking about, and I don't remember her name at this point, but I said her name because I knew her. And I said, are we talking about so-and-so? And he said, yeah, my wife, she passed. And I melted. I'm a very empathetic person and it's really easy to inspire emotion out of me. So I cried with him. And he got out of the car, we hugged, and I said, don't you worry about this car, because that's her car. That's why he had the emotional reaction he had to the manager. That's why he got as angry as he did, because it was one of the last things he has to remember his wife, and she just recently passed. So I brought the vehicle back, and I told that story to my manager, and her reply was, I didn't kill her. Goodness. And that just melted my heart. I at that point, I was like, I don't want to work here anymore. I feel dirty. I feel gross. Like that stuck in my memory. And I've told that story so many times. And that's what I wanted to change. That's what I want. I wanted my business to, even if it went under, I wanted it to care about its customers. I wanted to be like we were back in the 1800s, the early 1900s, when there was only one guy that could do, plumbing, or only one guy that could do woodwork in a town, and you had to get along with them. Back when we had to be humans to each other because skilled labor was hard to find. Now we can throw somebody out easily and move on to the next. And I didn't want to be that company. I wanted to be that company that you hired me because of who I was. Yeah, I'm good at detail, but that's not why you hired me. So I'm irreplaceable, absolutely irreplaceable. And we've done it. We're 4 years in, and we especially going through this COVID thing, I get messages all the time. I've had 3 people sign up for maintenance packages when I can't even work on their cars, just because they want to make sure that we get through this. So the proof is in the pudding, and it absolutely works to be a human and a business owner.
Yeah. So you alluded to this just now, and I know your story. You've graciously shared it with me, but could you share a little bit about your story? That stuff that you were talking about, because obviously you've had so many things happen to you in your life, and you manage this, you stumble, you fall, you get right back up again, and you go. And so I would love for you to share this part of the story and how that hasn't kept you from growing your business in terms of the way that you communicate with people.
You know the story, so I'll just share it again. One of the biggest things that made me who I am, that I was just alluding to, is when I was 15 years old, I was jumped. I was just playing basketball at a park, wasn't causing any trouble, and some kids started throwing rocks at us while we were playing. And I walked to the center of the court and was like, "Hey, if you guys want us to leave, we'll leave." I didn't know we were offending anybody. I was a little Christian boy. I went to Christian school, never swore, never touched alcohol. I didn't drink until I was 22 years old, and just basically told the group, "Hey, we'll leave if you want us to leave." And they said, no, you're right. We shouldn't be doing that. And we moved on to another court. And this kid, Michael Acevedo, walked up to me. I knew him because I played basketball with him for 2 years. And he started talking to me. He said, "So I hear you're causing trouble." And I started to answer his question because I knew him. I'd sat and had juice on his porch with him and his mother, and I knew his brothers, and I knew the family. Like, it didn't make any sense what had happened next, but I started talking to him, and he punched me in the side of the face. And what we found out later on, based off of following what happened in this scenario, is he was wearing a lead-lined glove. It's designed to basically grab knives during riots, or you could punch through a cinder block with it and not even feel it. It's designed. It's almost like brass knuckles on crack. And it shattered my face. It crushed my face. It destroyed my orbital bone, my jaw. and I had to go through reconstructive surgery.
Hmm.
That wasn't the hardest part about it, though. And this is the part that's still hard to talk about is I went through 2 years of rejection, 2 years of friends saying that I should get past it, 2 years of friends not understanding the emotional impact that something like that has, because the safety that you have, which is happening right now with COVID-19, the safety that you feel in this world, it goes away when something like that happens. It's gone. It's completely gone. Not even, I can't even explain it. At 15 years old, I started sleeping in my parents' bed again, you know. And then to go to school 6 months later and have people go, well, that happened 6 months ago. You should just get over it. It's like I have 3 titanium plates and 16 screws in my face. I can't play sports anymore. My life changed. Like it wasn't something small. But then you fast forward to, 4 or 5 years, you start to deal with it. And it wasn't truly until I was 32 years old that I started to relabel my memories. And I started to look at my hardships and go, how did that serve me? What was the positive in that? Because there's a positive in everything. Everything. Whether you believe it or not, in a death, there's a positive. In cancer, there's a positive. It's just what we choose to see. Our mind's eye or our eyes, what we choose to view. Our perspective is what dictates how that scenario is going to affect us. And that scenario controlled me for years. And it wasn't until I was 32 years that I looked at it and I went, that day I realized how important life is. That day I realized that at any day, even when you're playing basketball as a 15-year-old, you could die. You could pass. And that's my story. I need to start sharing that. I need to start explaining to people that something so stupid as to whether or not people are grouping together in a public park shouldn't be a reason for an argument. Like during this COVID crisis, we want to attack each other when, especially now, you could die tomorrow. Why can't we just be human? So now I use that story to explain to people, first to gather their attention, to make them stop and go, whoa. And then I go, and that was a good day. And now I call that the best day of my life because it truly has changed everything. Since I started sharing my story, people want to interview me, people want to talk to me. Our company has grown. I feel more comfortable. I'm dealing with my anxiety. And in fact, I've used my anxiety to grow my company, which is rather interesting. And I've taken a journey because of that. So because of that happening, that has made me who I am today. And I'm impacting the world. I'm actually changing lives. And I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so powerful. And I want to say, you know, when you tell me that you had juice with this kid, which you didn't tell me that part before, that you actually knew this kid, that you spent time hanging out on his front porch with him and his mom, that someone like that could do something so crazy that
Yeah.
would alter your physical, being and how you move and your outlook on life. Like, I totally get that confidence that you had was just shattered in that moment. That, like, if I can't even trust this friend of mine who I've had juice with on his front porch with his mom, that he could do something like this to me, then who can I trust?
Well, I think it's important to point this out too, and I've used this to teach other people, is standing by idly and watching something happen is just as bad as doing it yourself. As a society, we tend to stand back and allow things to happen that we disagree with, but we disagree in silence. And I believe that's part of the problem. One of the biggest things that stood out that day was there was a crowd of people, and the crowd of people watched. They watched. We didn't have cell phones like we do now. Otherwise, I'm sure it would be on the internet and I'd be able to show you what happened to me. But I remember standing up and a guy handed me a tissue, and this guy's arm was the size of my head. He was huge. He was built. He was muscular. He hands me a tissue and he says, "Your nose is bleeding." And I wiped my nose and I looked up to him and I was in tears and I said, "Why didn't you do anything?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you just stand there?" And that's what stuck out to me the most, was the fact that people will sit idly by and watch someone's life be destroyed and not care. And that's why I share my stories. It's not just about when you're faced with adversity, it's about when someone else is faced with adversity, especially during these times, during this COVID-19 crisis. Look at us. We're on a Zoom meeting supporting each other. That's what we should be doing every day. Every person should wake up and be like, who are the 10 people that I can support today? Imagine how quick the world would change if everyone woke up and thought that.
Yeah. And we're friends on Facebook, so I've been seeing a lot of really positive posts. And you touched on this, just now, giving example to, how people are treating each other in this COVID-19 crisis. What have you seen in terms of how people are treating each other, and then how have you responded?
You know, we have a private group too. We have a private group where we help mentor other detail business owners. And it's not easy for a mentor to watch this stuff happen. It's actually pretty hard, and it's pretty emotional too, because you're watching people that on both sides of the equation here. Some are saying you absolutely should be closing, you're part of the problem. And the other half of people are saying you should stay open, but minimal contact, yada, yada, yada. And they're being reasonable about it. In the middle is they're just arguing, and they're calling each other names, and they're getting angry. And I think a lot of it has to do with boredom and fear. We take fear and we project it onto other people, and our fears that cause us to, like, for instance, that day, what if I never went to a basketball park again? And that I started telling people that go to basketball parks that they're crazy because they're unsafe places. It's an irrational fear that I have that I'm imposing on other people. And then I call them names on top of it. It just doesn't solve any problems. So what I did was I went public, and I did one of my first ever angry videos. And I got mouthy with people and basically said that's enough is enough. I'm not going to keep you in my circle if you're going to argue with people and call people names. If you want to have a friendly debate, that's fine. Just like any other day of the year, COVID or no COVID, we can always debate things. But as soon as we begin to attack other people, we're revealing things about ourselves that we're insecure about. And it's got to stop. And I basically I cried on camera, as I've done many a times. And I was like, it's hard. It's hard to see two of the people that you coach now hate each other because of a made up fear for a virus that we're doing the best that we can. We don't know. There is no defined, this is what it's going to do. This is the outcome. This is uncharted territory for everyone. The president, his staff, we give him a hard time. But you know what? The least of all the jobs that are going on right now that are essential, which one I wouldn't want?
What's that?
The president. I wouldn't want to be the president. That's way too much pressure. I wouldn't want to be a governor. Wouldn't want to be him. Whether they make the right decision or the wrong decision, support is what they need right now. They're making decisions that no one's ever made before. We shut down Disney. $30 million a day gone out of our GDP. We've got hospitals closing, but other hospitals that are completely overwhelmed. How would you figure that out? Mr. wants to be the governor. Let's just give everyone a break right now is basically the message that I'm trying to preach to everyone. Is let's just give everyone a break. Let's give everyone some understanding. Even if they flipped out on you and called you a name, let's take a deep breath and reach out in a private message and say, hey, you okay? You all right? You got food on the table? You're not working? I've reached out to several people that they react, and you're like, whoa, that's not, let's just throw out a name. That's not Christopher. That's not like Christopher at all. Or that's not like Johnny. You know what? I'm going to send them a private message, make sure they're okay. And to acknowledge those things, and don't live within it, within the fear, within all the craziness, because then you're going to react the same way these people do. Live outside of it and look at it and be the help. That's why I started sharing my story, is so I could help people. So if I can step back in a time like this and go, you know what, today my face didn't get crushed, right? COVID-19 might be out there, but I promise you, having your face crushed is a lot worse than COVID-19 for me, mentally, structurally, in my mindset. So I can step back and go, today my face didn't get crushed. Who can I help? And I go through these posts and I read all the negativity, and I find out who's out of character. Let's send a private message. Let's not deal with this publicly. Let's reach out. And I'm really trying to reach out to just say, are you okay? And I challenge anybody who listens to this, do that with your client list. You want to talk about having clients for life, especially if you're closed right now. If you can't do business right now, reach out to every one of your client lists and ask, how are you doing? How's life? You stuck in quarantine? You okay? You sick? Anybody showing symptoms? Do you need any food? When you go to the store, instead of making fun of the people with masks, why don't you look for the people that are old that shouldn't be at the store? We went to Walmart the other day. There was a guy with oxygen on. Why is he there? Why is someone not helping him? Walk over to them, ask them if you can do his shopping for him. Then why don't you give me your list? Go wait out in the car and I'll do your shopping for you. Let's take care of each other right now. That's the message I'm trying to share.
Thanks so much for sharing that
So much for
message.
sharing that message.
I should say this, how has the COVID-19 crisis impacted your business?
You know, in a positive way. And this is going to take a minute to explain. Initially, we freaked out, just like everybody did. Oh my goodness, they're closing us down. What do we do? People aren't going to buy. And March, we had a record month. And the reason why we had a record month is because when this all hit, we did a risk assessment. We sat down and we said, can we make it 90 days? And we discovered we couldn't. We didn't have enough savings. We didn't have enough on the books that we could make it 90 days. We had an emergency fund, but I mean, who predicts needing an emergency fund like this? You know, basically all bills need to be paid by emergency fund. There's no funds coming in. Okay, this isn't going to work. So I went nuts on advertisement. And I had one of the best months for advertising I've ever had. And what we decided is we're going to race to the finish. It was the second week and third week of March. And then that last week of March, we're going to take off as well as the first week of April, as long as we have the funds, right? Because we're not essential, but we're in a gray area for my business. We work from home. It's just me and Andrew. You know, we don't hire staff until the summertime. So we haven't brought that staff on yet. It's not worth the risk. We're running the company as lean as possible. And we're in that gray area. We don't have to close, but we also don't want to be part of the problem. So we put ourselves in the position where we could close, and we ended up doing it. Again, small company. Our record month before this was $17,000, and in March we did $22,000. So we took most of that money and put it in an emergency fund, and we went, let's just take a vacation. Yeah, it's going to be a home vacation. We're going to stay at home, but let's plan it. And we basically planned out the functions for the first week. So we redid our master bedroom. We redid my office. We did all sorts of other stuff in the house. We did some gardening. And then we reached the second week and was like, okay, I'm bored. I don't want to do this anymore. So as far as financially goes, it hasn't really affected us. But business-wise, you have to be sensitive because there's people out there that are high risk. There's people out there, we have several clients that are, we have one client that's a paraplegic. We have another client that has diabetes. We've got other clients, because again, we get to know people. So I know my clients, and there's also clients that are attached to other clients that have cancer. I have one of my clients just found out this year that she has cancer, and it's like, what worse time could you have to find out you have cancer or to battle cancer right before the COVID crisis? So I send her a message every 2 weeks, just checking on you, just seeing how you're doing. So the only thing that's really changed for us is compassion. The compassion has turned up to level 10. We're staying in contact a lot more with our clients to make sure they're healthy and safe. And we're taking on work as we choose. We're being picky. We're making sure that they're not associated with anybody that's sick. We were asking those weird questions. I was joking with Andrew last night, actually. I said, there's going to be a lot of people that are able to be receptionists at hospitals after we come out to the end of this, because of all of us as business owners, we're asking questions like, are you exhibiting any symptoms of the flu? Have you had a cough recently? Here's a mask. We're doing all those things that a receptionist at a hospital would do. So that's really all that's changed for us. We're a smaller company though. So.
And you guys are what made you decide to open back up? Because you were saying that you decided to take a break, and you're opening things back up and seeing where it goes.
Well, first and foremost, I'm not a guy that lives in fear. So when we closed, it was a decision because we were taking a vacation. It was not directly related to COVID. It did partially have to do with COVID. We don't want to be part of the problem. But we sat down, we waited for the emotional time to pass so that we could look at it logically and go, are we going to be responsible for an outbreak? Are we going to be responsible for more people getting sick? How many people do we actually touch in a day? How many people do we actually get even close enough to cough on, to sneeze on? What are we dealing with on a regular basis? Are we dealing with filth? We're not sanitizing cars. For those detailers out there that are advertising sanitizing cars, if they're not certified, it's bullcrap. You're not. So we basically assessed it, and we were like, you know what, we don't come in contact with more than 2 people a week. And I'm not going to stores. I'm not doing anything. I'm doing nothing but stay home. So as far as risk factor goes, we're incredibly low on the risk factor scale. And if people are wanting our services and getting upset that we're not providing them, it only makes sense for us to take care of our regular customers. Now, are we out seeking additional customers right now and pushing heavy marketing to find new business? No, I don't need to. I can weather this storm with our current clientele, but we did sit down and take another form of a risk assessment. And the last thing we want to do is have an outbreak track back to our business, because that would be terrible. And what we decided was we're very, 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 very low risk with not even coming in contact with people. And at this point, we don't come in contact with anybody because we've changed it to they drop off. Sorry, don't see ya. We can Zoom chat if you'd like, or we can FaceTime, or I can show you a video of your car. But I don't want, and I don't, it's not because I don't want to get people sick. It's a culmination of, I want to show publicly I'm taking this serious. Just like every other business that's been closed, every other business that's taken their extra precautions, like, we're taking this serious. And we want you to know as a client, we're taking this serious. So they have the confidence to know that even the next car we work on, or the car we worked on before that, we still took those precautions. So there was a lot of those things that we put in place, like isopropyl alcohol and disinfecting the common areas before we touch them, trying not to do cross-contamination type things. We have use an ozone machine. I don't know if you know what that is, but it basically kills, it's said to kill up to 99.9% of viruses. Now, I'm not claiming that's what it does. There hasn't been testing done with ozone machines in COVID-19, but we're taking the extra precaution. So we've basically bolstered ourselves with so much safety that if we even came close to getting it, I'd be shocked. And that's what that's why we opened. Life has to go on. You can't live in fear. And I'm not high risk. Andrew's not high risk. It took 2 weeks to make the decision. We just finalized the decision 3 days ago.
Wow. You are an influencer and really big on marketing. And in spite of some of the anxieties that you feel, considering the situations and the things that have happened to you in the past, the tragic stuff that have happened to you in the past, and yet you were able to market yourself in this powerful way. How have you been able to do that? And then I do want to ask a follow-up question. How do you dance the line between, being this opinionated individual, if you will? Right, you're throwing your opinions out there. Hey, you guys shouldn't be acting this way, and I'm going to get in your face, and these kinds of things, while still marketing yourself and your business.
The thing that I preach the most is you've got to have a moral compass. Especially when it comes to stuff like this, I use Facebook Lives and my marketing to keep myself in check. So it serves a different purpose than to just market. When we simplify purposes, we make things harder to do. If we were growing a business because we want money, that's a super simple purpose. Whereas if we're growing a business to create solidarity for our family and to create something that they can come home to and be proud of, and something they feel safe in, that just brings so much power to the business itself and to the reason why you're growing it. So my marketing, it's not just marketing. It's changing the world. My goal is one person at a time to try to change people's moral perspective to do what's right. That's why we change lives through detail. It's the basis of my company. It's who I am. And if you don't want to do business with that, it makes it really easy to decline people. Because if you don't want to do business morally and justly, then I don't want to do business with you. It makes it super simple. Because, like, for instance, the people that ask about paying cash and getting a discount, or paying cash and not having to get a receipt so they can stiff their taxes, that's an easy decision for me. Sorry. It's not even a no, I'm going to still charge you tax. It's a no, I'd rather not do business with you, because you're morally and justly wrong. And that's the key. You have to be confident in your morals. You have to be confident in there's a book out there called The 21 Laws of Leadership. And there's the law of the compass. The compass has to be pointed the right way in a company. And there's going to be one or two, or sometimes a body of people that structure that culture and structure the compass direction. And if you don't fit going that direction, you don't fit. It's really easy to make that decision. So I hate to coin a phrase, but I use my band hammer a lot. Uh, because if you're not, and it's not about the discussion type stuff, it's more about the this is right and this is wrong. Like right now, for instance, one of the hot button topics in detail industry and the detail world is steam will kill viruses. It's false. It's been proven to be false several times scientifically. Steam is just a great thing to clean a car with. It does not disinfect, it barely kills bacteria. And if you used it to kill a virus, you would have to have a dwell time of over 3 minutes. So, quite frankly, that claim is false. If you're continuing to produce that claim and that's in your advertisements, even after someone's reached out and said, bro, you're making the industry look bad, like that's false. And you're like, screw you, it's making me a bunch of money. That's not good moral money. If you get what I'm saying, that money morally is karma's going to get him. It's going to come back. How it does, don't know, don't care. I won't be there to see it. It's morally wrong. And that's what I use. That helps me a lot, especially when producing content. If somebody just wants to straight up be a hater, what do I care? They're still growing the post if they comment on it. All their friends know they're a jerk, and their friends that aren't jerks are still going to do business with me. So I pretty much just blow off all the hatred.
Wow. So the proof is in the pudding. And I love that you have these values and you're only willing to work with the honest and be ethical about it and morally correct, as you put it. How's that done for you financially? Coming from humble beginnings to where you are in this year of business.
We're in 4th year of business, and I have more money in my bank account than I've ever had my entire life.
Boom. Do you care to share any numbers?
I have no problem with it. It's not an exorbitant amount of money. Again, remember, living paycheck to paycheck. In the first 2 years of business, we were in the red. We were begging, borrowing, and stealing. I had a gun collection. I sold it to keep the business afloat. We went through the house and found everything that we didn't use, that we didn't need. We sold that to keep the business afloat. But into year 3 and 4, I now have $11,000 in my emergency fund. I've got $4,000 in my bank account. I've got $1,200 in stocks. My credit score is higher than it's ever been. And yes, it's not perfect, but it's over 700. When you're homeless, your credit score tanks. I don't know if anybody's ever been through that, but my credit score, I didn't know it could go into the 400s. And it can. And it's fixed. I have one delinquent thing that I need to take care of on my credit score. And it's mind blowing to look at that and to look at where I was 4 years ago, sitting in a 1979 RX-7 just 8 years ago with nothing, walking to a 24-hour fitness to shower and just keeping going, just one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at whatever it took. If I was going through a conniption or having an anxiety attack, it was seconds at a time, but we just took it as in stride. And now when I've finally gone, you know what, I'm tired of listening to everybody else. I want to do things justly. I want to do things honestly. I was raised a Christian. I was raised with huge moral values, and to yes or no, you either go this direction or we don't associate with each other. We didn't have a lot of friends when I grew up. We segregated ourselves from the people that were immoral. And then I started a business and I'm like, that's what we're going to do. Because this is what I've fixed. Every business that I fixed for 13 years, the first thing I fixed was trust. Trust and being honest and truthful. And then all of a sudden the business took off. And I truly believe that's why the business worked. So when I implemented it into my business, I just structured it more and stuck to my guns even harder. And we've grown every year. This year, I don't know, we'll see with the COVID thing, but we're on pace to do 250K this year, which is like, wow, it's just 2 of us, and we don't work like other small business owners where you work 16 hours a day cleaning carpets. I only detail for 6.5 hours a day tops. Today we did 2 cars, we did 3 hours. That's it. And then the rest of the time we enjoy our lives. That's what I'm trying to build for myself. I'm not trying to become a multimillionaire. I want to change people's lives and I don't need money to do that. Would it help? Of course. And that's why we're growing the business. But we're going slow growth. We're not trying to get into being corporate. I did that for 13 years. I don't want to be fast paced. I'm living my perfect life is basically what I'm saying. And I'm loving every day of it. And that's why every time you talk to me, I'm going to be smiling. I'm going to be happy. Even if we're going through a struggle, guess what? I didn't get my face crushed. It's super easy to deal with. and it's mine. It's my business. So no matter what trouble comes up, that's okay. That's my trouble. I'll handle it. It's not a big deal.
When you talk about trouble, I think that's a perfect segue into this new segment that we have. It's called Bad Review Time. Care to share one of your bad reviews and tell us how you responded to it? And go ahead, read it.
Well, I've had several, but we decided on one that we were going to do. And it wasn't, see, when you say bad review, it's like, okay, there's the public bad reviews, and then there's bad reviews where somebody actually is talking to you. In my opinion, those are more valuable because it's somebody actually trying to work through a problem that doesn't go publicly to just destroy your business. So this person, we did 3 cars for this person. This was the first year we were in business. We were way underpriced. Like, we lost money our first year. I didn't realize until I pulled my P&L after 8 months, and I was like, whoa, we are not priced high enough. And we did 3 cars for this guy, and 2 of them were big trucks, and we did 3 of them for $500, including a polish. So just to give you an idea of how drastically different that is from now, if I pick up a polisher on 1 car, I'm making 500 plus. We average $750 to $1,000 per car now. So to do 3 cars for $500 was really cheap for this guy. And we get finished with everything, and he didn't maintain them very well. I did a walkthrough on every car, and he said he was happy, satisfied. He actually did carpet cleaning, so he gave me a bunch of carpet chemicals and everything that I took home with me. And he's really cool on site. And then 2 days later, he notices that we didn't get one of the hinges on one of his door jambs. And they were talking, that's it. That's all we missed. 3 cars, including polishes, and he lost his mind. He said, this is ridiculous. You need to come back and get this done, da, da, da. And this is all through text message. I run my business mostly through text. And I explained to him, yeah, no problem. We'd be happy to take care of it. Just need to get you on the schedule. It's just me and Andrew. We're sole proprietors, so I got to work it in. But I'd be happy to come back. And if it ends up being that it's 2 weeks out, we'll just redo the whole detail. That's the way we've always done it. And he said, no. He said, no, you're coming right now. And I was like, you run a small business, don't you? And of course he does. So you understand scheduling. You understand when there's only 2 people, there's only 2 people, there's only so much I could do. I can try to rework the schedule, and I can try to get it in sooner for you, but I can't just come right now. I'm literally doing a car right now. I'm vacuuming a car. And he argued with me, got mouthy, cussed me out through text message. And I was like, when you calm down, go ahead and reach back out to me. I'm going to finish this car. Because again, it's that moral ground. Is what he's doing right? No, it's wrong. So we're going to allow him some time to cool off, and then we'll talk to him in a bit. So I reached out to him later that night. Same thing. He wanted me to come the next day, ASAP, right away. And I said, well, I can't do tomorrow, but I can do the next day, which was Saturday. I said, tomorrow we've got 4 cars, but Saturday I'd be happy to. No, that's ridiculous. You come tomorrow. So it was his time or no time. He wasn't malleable. He wasn't willing to bend or anything. And he got way undercharged as it was. So I was like, well, it doesn't look like I can help you. Would you like me to refund that car? We had 3 vehicles, divide that by $500. I can refund you the X amount of dollars. No, that's not going to work for me. I'm going to sue you. Are you going to sue me for the money that I'm refunding you? Or how can I make this better? And there was no way to make it better. Bottom line was he wanted me to jump through my butt and to go help him out ASAP right now when he was in the mood. And then it would go like 3 days, and then he'd be in the mood again. He'd go 3 more days, he'd be in the mood again. And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I can't help you. Now you're threatening to sue me, so we're just going to cut ties, and you do what you need to do. Well, I got a buddy that's in the sheriff's department. I'm going to and I said, that's fine. You do what you need to do. And again, it made it easy, the moral ground thing. The fact that it wasn't being handled properly, I realized there may be some emotion. Maybe hinges are just his hot button. I mean, maybe that's just what he's, I don't know. Maybe that's what makes a detail for him. And there's weird people out there like that, where one small thing in the car, that's what a detail is, like the gas cap. If you don't clean their gas cap, they want a full refund because that's a detail to them. Wow. And it blows your mind, and you're like, well, no problem. Why don't I come back and just redo the whole thing? And he just wasn't having it. So we went back and forth. I swear it was like 4 weeks. And then finally I talked to Andrew, and actually this was the first complaint we ever had with our company. And we developed, with everything I do, when I run into a frustration or anxiety, I create a standard operating procedure. This is where I told you that anxiety actually helped me grow my company. So now when something makes me anxious, we write it up on a board, wait till the anxiety passes, go back in, and we create a standard operating procedure to how to deal with that anxiety in the future. So that's what we did. We basically said when somebody uses these specific terms, then threatens lawsuit, we just cut them off. This bottom line, what happened is he took up 4 weeks of my time mentally, and I was in a bad mindset for 4 weeks, which disallowed me to continue to advertise properly for my company, to continue to do detail. I was distracted. I wasn't on par. I wasn't the marketer that everybody knows me to be. And we struggled for 4 weeks until finally I went, you know what, he's done. And then it was the day after, I was on par. I was knocking out home runs with my marketing. I closed a bunch of deals. I scheduled a bunch of appointments. And we truly realized that the anxiety of that situation taught us more than anything else. And that's when we implement, the SOP is if John gets anxious, we're about to create a new standard operating procedure. So in hindsight, that customer complaint was one of the biggest blessings our company could have had. And that's how I often see struggles, is they're actually blessings in disguise. It just takes us time to step back and go, okay, why is this a blessing? This guy's a jerk. But understand at any point in time, even if you're not going to make that person happy, you're about to learn something huge about your company and about yourself, especially if they start attacking you personally. We tend to get emotional real quick as human beings when somebody attacks our work, especially if you're a sole proprietor that does the work and somebody attacks you personally. Like when somebody says, this is the worst detail I've ever had. And immediately you want to, you know what, you want to just cuss them out and lose your mind. That is now a trigger for me to take a breath, sit in the criticism, and just go, was there something I missed that could have caused this reaction? And then handle it from there. And that's what we do. And it allowed me, that jerk, which we never solved the problem. We never made the guy happy. There was no refunds because it was cash. So I would have had to go to his house and give him a refund. And he never could line up a structure or time for me to do so. So we chalked it up to a loss and wiped our hands of it and called it good.
Wow. Way to be a champ to handle that.
It was not easy.
Well, you've given us so much wisdom and shared your story and encouragement. I do want to give you the last word in terms of what would you say to our pros out there, considering the current climate that our country is in right now? What words of encouragement would you have for our pros out there running their businesses during this challenging time?
People are looking at us as leaders. If you wake up every day and you worry about the money you're putting in your pocket or the business that's falling apart, you're going to live in anxiety all day long. If you wake up every morning going, you know what, no matter what we decide, whether we're open, whether we're closed, whether we're helping people, whether we're socially distant or not, right now people are looking at small business owners as leaders in our industries and in life, because we're the ones that are still out there battling. We're doing what we got to do to keep things going, and people are looking at us for leadership. And if we all wake up every day and realize that, we can really make a change during this time. It can be more of a positive than it is a negative. There's so many positive things coming out of COVID-19. How many of you were able to actually get things done at home that you've been putting off forever? How many of us are spending time with family? How many of us are using Zoom meetings, unleashing new technology that we've never touched? How many grandparents now know how to use Zoom that live several thousand miles away from their grandkids that they can't see? There's so much positive that's come out of this, and we need to share that. We need to wake up every day and be like, I'm a leader, and we're going to explain to people how this is good, not how it's bad. There's plenty of people out there telling us how bad it is. We don't need any more of that. There's enough. So that's my advice. Wake up every day a leader like you are, and let's lead the way into the future, because the future's coming whether we like it or not, and it never lasts. Bad always goes away, just like good does.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, John, and we wish you well.
Of course. Thanks.
Thanks so much for tuning in. For more information, go to housecallpro.com/coronavirus.